What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and another year in a loaded Western Conference. The landscape is settled after a short offseason, where health, as it always does, will play a major role. Some teams have risen via off-season signings, trades, and draft picks, while others have declined, having sent away pieces or suffered an untimely injury. At the very least, though, 11 teams are eager and capable of stacking dubs so they can punch a ticket to the playoffs. LA, stand up. Fresh off a championship, the Lake Show is clearly hungry for more. The prior roster could have been brought back, particularly due to the playoff success they achieved, but LeBron and management saw room for improvement and pounced on it. I distinctly remember getting a notification the Lakers were working a deal for Dennis Schroeder days before the free agency period had begun, solidifying that they weren't playing about they two-peat. They'd attentively observed the landscape and took what they wanted, namely Schroeder and, shockingly, Trez from the Clippers, who'd intended to sign and deal him. Infusing youth and scoring to a veteran-heavy group will make combating the shortened offseason much easier than had the older pieces been retained. Being thin only at center, the team's great depth at every other spot should propel them to the top of the conference for a second straight year. Coming into this season, the cat is somewhat out the bag for Denver since reverse sweeping the Clippers in the second round. They'll still likely retain their dark horse status going into the playoffs, but other contenders know it won't be sweet if they see them. And as a young, deep team that's contended for a top 5 seed the past 3 seasons, they'll be in the mix again with primarily the same core. MPJ will be the wild card that dictates much of their success, as he'll be stepping into the starting role left by Jeremy Grant. Will Barton will be rejoining the lineup off injury last year, providing Denver with another big guard that can play make, score, and defend with Gary Harris. In addition, JaMychal Green's signing gives Jokic another weapon and adds to the already good depth, as he shot nearly 39% from 3 last year. Likely to lock up the 3rd seed, the Clippers got sorely embarrassed last year. Despite the faceplant, they'll be looking to prove something with new additions to better complement their star duo. To alleviate George and Leonard of some playmaking, they acquired Nicholas Batum to act as a point forward, having averaged around 5+ assists a game from 2012 to 2016, and Luke Kennard, fresh off a 4 assists a game season. Both players are also a threat from deep, as Kennard is a career 40% and Batum a career 35% three-point shooters. Los Angeles also snagged Kawhi's good friend and rim protector Serge Ibaka to grant them a floor spacing big. Despite these solid acquisitions better fitting their great depth, the team was unable to get the pure playmaking guard they wanted and may need when playoff time comes. Paul George playing to his full capacity, though, can more than make up for the sought-after IQ, but having had great regular seasons and playoff P performances the last 2 postseasons, it's a 50-50 chance he comes through. And considering the bag the franchise dropped on him, with his own words, George has no choice but to up his game when playoff time comes. This is the most talented roster Portland has sported since the Dame Lillard-LaMarcus Aldridge era. No, Nurkic isn't the star that Aldridge was, but his skill, IQ, and floor spacing ability gives the team an additional playmaker, allowing Dame and CJ to score easier off the ball. To aid the star backcourt, the Blazers acquired 3-and-D wing Rob Covington and high flyer Derrick Jones Jr. to improve their formerly abysmal defense, having had the 3rd most points scored against them last year. The team also added to their center depth, employing Harry Giles, who will bring energy and athleticism, and former Blazer Enes Kanter, a rebounding low post scorer. And with having a more than capable scorer in Melo leading a solid bench, the Blazers likely have their best chance to advance to and past the 2nd round since 2014. Likely MVP of this season, Luka Doncic will have his work cut out for him during the early portion of the season. Most of the contending teams in the West are starting out with 2 healthy stars sharing the load, further cementing his MVP odds. Ownership, though, is committed to winning and thus have carefully constructed the roster with switchable defenders that can shoot to best suit Doncic's game. To increase ball pressure and stack lane, Dallas acquired 3-and-D forward Josh Richardson, who's known Luka since they were 16, to cover opposing star wings. He'll easily fit into the solid forward rotation with Hardaway Jr. and Dorian Finney-Smith, while providing some playmaking abilities, having averaged 4 assists a game in 2019. Dwight Powell will be returning from injury, unifying the duo of he and Maxi Kleber, allowing the team to occasionally play 5 out. With all that though, the Mavs' aspirations of really competing for a championship rides on Kristaps the Unicorn Porzingis' health. Phoenix is looking to return to the postseason and snap their decade-long playoff drought, having acquired an all-time great in Chris Paul during the offseason to pair with Devin Booker in the backcourt was genius. The leadership, on-court coaching, and intensity Paul brings will resonate with a young, hungry team that narrowly missed the playoffs last year despite an 8-0 record. CP3's arrival will also unlock DeAndre Ayton, similar to how DeAndre Jordan's ceiling was raised during his tenure as a Clipper. While the two centers' rebounding and defense are comparable, Ayton differs with a higher skill level by having a jumper and range of post moves. Because of this, pick and rolls can now be pick and pops, keeping defenders on their toes. Former Heat forward Jay Crowder also joins the team, bringing toughness to the Suns' front court as a 3-and-D wing capable of guarding 1 through 4. He and Mikal Bridges form a pesky, long duo that fit perfectly next to the team's playmaking centerpieces. With the solid bench including Cam Johnson, Dario Saric, and an improved Cameron Payne to back their much-improved starting 5, Phoenix has a realistic shot at reaching and possibly advancing past the first round. I still remember being surprised when rookie Donovan Mitchell led Utah to knock off the Russ and PG-led Thunder in 2018. Since then, Mitchell has taken star-level strides every year despite management surrounding him with good but not great enough pieces. Don't get me wrong, sniper Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, Mike Conley, and Jordan Clarkson off the bench is a nice collection of players. Just not a championship-level crew. Especially having tossed a big bag at Gobert, the Jazz are stuck in a painful limbo. The organization resides in a small market where they're good enough to make the playoffs, but also not bad enough to land a franchise-altering draft pick. Because of this and their inability to attract star-tier free agents, their postseason arrival will be soured after a likely first-round exit. Rounding out the top 8 will be Golden State. It was initially a difficult choice at 8, but Curry's 62 on the Blazers and Draymond Green making an immediate impact on wins the minute he was cleared to play shook me of any of my recency bias. I thought he'd have had to return to his 2016 MVP form just for Golden State to make the play-ins, but I was sorely mistaken. Despite Clay being out, Steph was and is still capable of going nuclear, even when defenses are keying in on him. Dre being on the court gives Steph easier looks off the ball while enhancing rookie big man James Wiseman, as Green can run plays like lobs and rim runs with him. And though Wiggins and Oubre have been struggling from deep, their defense on opposing wings has allowed Golden State to stay in and win games. Curry heard the slander on his name and responded with a vengeance. Making the playoffs will be the second act of his reminder tour. Now looking at the play-in tournament, teams that will likely compete for a play-in spot or possibly make the A seed include Houston, Sacramento, and New Orleans. As the initial team I had making the A spot, Houston's earlier situation will likely have them in the play-in tournament. Despite retaining some of their better role players from prior seasons and making good off-season acquisitions, it boiled down to the centerpiece's dedication. The team was above average when Harden was out and a playoff caliber team when he's engaged, or was. This inconsistency isn't helped anymore by the team still trying to work out their defensive kinks and chemistry in general. I had believed Houston would have held on to Harden for the remainder of the season in hopes of changing his mind, but the bubbling toxicity and his standing pat on wanting a championship circumstance got him out. As a young team with solid talent but located in the West, Sacramento has typically hovered around the middle of the pack. Their most recent attempts to grow have been somewhat stunted due to their center and 2018 second pick Marvin Bagley III being riddled with injuries since his arrival into the league. Bagley's only played 75 total games prior to this season, keeping him from developing consistent on-court chemistry with star guard De'Aaron Fox. If this core, including Buddy Hield, vet Harrison Barnes, and standout rookie Tyrese Halliburton, are to take the step into playoff contention, the Kings will need their skilled big man to make it through a season relatively healthy. The coaching change New Orleans made this offseason was a shift towards being a more defensive-minded team. Bringing in mid-20s Steven Adams to anchor the middle and two-time all-defensive veteran Eric Bledsoe to provide more drives and clamps was a great timetable move by management. Having Adams, though, specifically benefits Zion greatly as he'll alleviate him of doing the dirty work and is a solid passer for a center, allowing Williamson to roam around for setup buckets. With no minutes restriction on their franchise player, Zion will be able to curate the chemistry with all-star forward Brandon Ingram necessary to get into the playoff hunt. And while the Pelicans have a lot of talent and are capable of competing with the top teams in the West, they'll need a few more years together to become a serious contender. As per tradition, the West will be a bloodbath yet again, where teams with playoff talent won't be able to make it. On the bright side, the majority of franchises missing out are younger and thus need a bit more development in a few years. Alright, that's one for the books. I appreciate y'all staying till the end, so if you enjoyed this video, like and consider subscribing. Comment down below if you agree or disagree and we'll discuss it. And with that, see y'all in the next one. Peace.